Hello, darlings. I've been guiding the most brilliant women from all over the world, and one of the biggest problems I've seen is not that ambitious women aren't putting in the work to reach their goals. No, no, no. They are putting in the work, and unfortunately, 99% of the time, they're putting in the work into the wrong goals. I'm talking about goals that look great on paper. They look beautiful to the outside world, but ultimately, when these women actually reach these goals, they find that they are feeling unfulfilled, they're feeling empty, and they don't have that feeling of success, fulfillment, happiness that they expected. Even more so, they are feeling burnt out, exhausted, stressed. They're probably spiraling a lot along the journey. Or if they haven't reached that goal yet, they're on the struggle bus trying to get to that goal. And I'm here to tell you about how a lot of these goals or a definition of success that comes from society and doesn't come from you. And unfortunately, this is a path for disaster. And this is how a lot of ambitious women, unfortunately, waste their precious time and energy pursuing things that they don't actually want. And that leave them feeling stressed and burnt out and unhappy. Ask me how I know. It's not just the brilliant women I've been guiding. I myself have been through this time and time again. And so today I want to share with you the real, true stories about how I pursued what I thought were my dreams of becoming a famous actress, and also how I found incredible success in the corporate world, and how both of those ultimately left me feeling depleted, unfulfilled, and just yucky. And I have since left both of those paths, never to be returned again. And I want to share my stories because I hope that you will see yourself in them. And if you are currently pursuing a goal that just isn't aligned for your heart, I hope that my stories will give you the big permission slip you need to finally let that go so that you can start embarking on the path that is aligned for you, that is meant for you, that is true to you. Okay, and this is particularly relevant for the ladies here who, like me, are daughters of immigrants, or maybe you are an actual immigrant. Woo! You've actually left a country, or your parents have done that, and there's this tremendous pressure on you to be successful. And oftentimes these definitions of success are very limited and they put you in a very small box. I mean, how many daughters of immigrants are forced to either be a lawyer or a doctor? A lot. And I work with you guys, so I know. And it's not just that. There's so many other definitions and pressures that are put on women who are first gen, who are doing things, for the first time. Maybe you're a first time person that went to college and we face a extra layer of pressure to conform to these external definitions of success. And so here I am. Let me share you my two paths that I have taken and that I really put the muscle, blood, sweat, and tears into that ultimately were not what they were cranked up to be. All right, let me start with my acting career. So I did go to a performing arts high school where I studied voice and piano. However, after I graduated from that high school, I decided to study psychology at UConn. And then when I graduated, I got a job through Craigslist. Let me know if you remember Craigslist as an intern at a market research firm. And a couple years into that, I found myself bored and feeling like my creativity is not being expressed. And so I just decided on a whim. Gossip Girl was really popular back then. And I was like, listen, if these ladies can do it, I can do it. And so I decided to embark on my acting career. And yes, within I think the first 2 weeks of me creating my headshots, funny enough, this was the hairstyle in my headshots. Weird. My headshots and my resume, within 2 weeks, I got my first role in an NYU student film. Okay, so I was off to an amazing, bangful start. And then I proceeded for the next few years while still working at that point part-time in my corporate role. I was pursuing these acting roles. Okay, I was going to acting class, I was networking, I was doing stuff for free, the student films and all of that. I was, going to all these auditions. I was trying to find an agent, I was trying to find a manager, I was mailing out these postcards with my face on it. And I was really, really busy with all that. And I do have to say, I did find some success. I think within the first year of my acting career, I was cast in a movie with Abel Ferrara, the infamous New York director who now lives in Italy. And a year after that, that movie went to the Cannes Film Festival, and that was honestly the highlight of my life. But that is not the purpose of the story. What I want to share is that shortly after that, I was starting to find some success. I had an agent, I had a manager, I was going out for my favorite shows like Homeland, Daredevil. I was being seen for a Joaquin Phoenix movie. All this to say, at my peak is when it hit me that my acting career was not what I actually wanted. What I wanted was to be famous so that I could feel loved. I had this gaping hole inside my heart that I thought could only be filled by being loved by the entire world. And I saw acting and being in the limelight as the path to being loved. And actually, acting and going to acting class helped me so much with learning about myself, having self-awareness, because as an actress, in order to portray a character, you have to learn their motivation, you have to learn their inner workings. So as I was doing that, I was learning about myself and what was motivating me. And I had this really, really awful awakening moment where I was like, Anna, you pursuing acting is actually a trauma response. Like you are trying to get love and you are looking for it in the entertainment industry. And I am positive I'm not the only one. That is just, let's just say all the stuff that started coming out with Harvey Weinstein and the Me Too. Like I witnessed that like right before everything popped off. And that was also a big contributing factor why I decided to leave. But ultimately, when I realized I am pursuing acting because I thought I will somehow be filled with this love that I was so desperate for at the time, I finally let my acting dreams go. And I remember I just quit one day, like I said, in my peak when I was finally going out for good roles. I had representation, two people, like an agent and a manager, and I was just like, I am done. And so, yeah, looking back, I can now clearly see that put so much blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, I had a part-time corporate job. And then I moved to Connecticut. I was not driving, taking the train to Manhattan for acting class, coming home at midnight, tired, going back to my job the next morning, going to these auditions. I mean, it was actually insane. I was taking time off of work to go to film festivals. I traveled to the Toronto Film Festival, for example, and living kind of this double life. And that left me really little room for joy, left me really little time for making fun plans, spending time with my friends, spending time with my family, with my husband. I was just always go, go, go because I was on this hamster wheel where I thought if I just worked harder, if I send out more postcards with my resume, I'll get this role and I'll be loved. And so I was chasing something that wasn't even real. And so I invite you to really reflect this goal that you have. Do you really want that life? Do you really want that lifestyle? Or do you want what you think it will give you, right? Because when I think about it, I don't want to be an actress. I actually don't like acting that much. And I don't like the thought of being on a movie set for 16 hours a day. Are you kidding me? That absolutely not. Like waiting, so there's so much waiting that happens on set. Lighting, sound. It's just like waiting, waiting, waiting on set. The actual acting portion is so small, but there's so much waiting. And there's also so much begging for roles, auditioning. It felt like I was interviewing for a job, except I was interviewing for a job every day and all the time. Most people interview for a job, once every few years. Here I was interviewing for a job a couple times a week. So please, if you're an ambitious, brilliant woman, especially if you have an immigrant background, I invite you to really think about that big goal I was going to say in your heart, but really it's in your mind, right? It's in your mind, this big thing that you think once you land there, you will be so happy and everything will be okay, right? I invite you to really question that and discern, is that true? I want you to really think about the daily life of someone who has what you think you so desperately need and see if that's what you really want. Maybe you'll find that it is what you want. Maybe you'll find that you want it, but in a slightly different way. And so you need to alter your goals a little bit. Or you'll find, like me, that it is not what you want at all. All right, now I'm going to talk about my corporate career. So I started in that market research role. Then I had my acting career for 5 years in between. Then I went back to focusing on my corporate career. And if you know me, you know I struggled for 3 years, not being promoted, feeling invisible, being overworked, underpaid. And then I finally had my career glow up moment where within 1 year I doubled my corporate salary. I got promoted several times and I basically became a queen, a corporate queen. That same place where I had started as an intern that I got on Craigslist 9 years prior, suddenly I was also the head of that New York City office for that company. Okay. I believe I was the youngest person in that role, and there was only one other woman in a similar role globally at the company at the time when I was in that role. So it was a total, Princess Diaries moment for me and something I so desperately wanted. And if you know me, you also know I had PCOS. I have a whole PCOS series and how so much of that overworking and thinking that I have to prove myself and work harder than everyone else. This is also a big issue for daughters of immigrants, that workhorse syndrome, feeling like we have to outwork everyone and be these miracle workers. I was doing all that. Spoiler alert, that's not what got me promoted. That's what gets you getting more work, not more respect, not more prestige. So, anyway, after that huge journey and me finally being on the top of the corporate food chain, I genuinely found myself feeling, is this it? And I was like, I cannot believe I was so desperate for this. And I thought once I had the salary, the title, the prestige, the respect, all that was nice, but ultimately I was like, if I was feeling meh. I was feeling like I have all these other gifts. I know I have other gifts. I know I'm meant to have more meaning in my life, more impact in my life. I know it's meant to feel more yummy and fulfilling and delicious. I'm like, this can't be it. And then also, the further up I climbed, the more I saw that it was beginning to clash with my values, especially with integrity. And I have always been someone who was here to empower people, especially women. And so when I felt the higher I climbed, the more I had to actually squash people that really didn't sit well with me, on top of just not feeling fulfilled in my heart and feeling like I was meant for more. So, over 3 years ago is when I got laid off from that job, and I have a video about that. And then I've been doing this for the past 3 years full time, being the career guardian angel for ambitious women, using spiritual systems and strategy to help you know yourself better so that you can build a life that's based on you and not based on a trauma response, not based on what your family wants, and not based on what the culture you grew up in wants, and not based on the boss babe messaging we received, especially in the 90s and the 2000s. So many extreme expectations of women are put on us, and a lot of that is related to success and what success looks like. I also believe this is part of what we call the matrix, right? The matrix makes us chase these things and enslaves us into these systems that never fulfill us, but keep us chasing. I'm going back to that hamster wheel analogy, right? We keep chasing, and I work with so many women who, even after they get promoted, even after we get them the title and the salary and everything, they're just like, like I thought I would feel happy, but I don't. And that is so scary to admit. So many women I work with have went to law school for so many years, have went to different kinds of medical school or dental school, and they wake up one day and they're like, "Oh my gosh, have I made a mistake?" Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no, and oftentimes the answer is somewhere in between. There's so much that you can do with no matter which path you have gone down, there's so much you can still do to pivot and use those experiences to set you up for success on a new path that is aligned for you, that is fulfilling for you. So, for example, for me, I could not be doing this work if I hadn't spent time in corporate. If I hadn't learned marketing, if I hadn't learned branding, I wouldn't be so quickly successful as I am right now because I would have had to learn all those skills. So, I want to tell you, no, you have not wasted time. No, it is not the end of the world. As long as you are living and breathing and itching and willing to muster up the courage to change your path and find out and discover what else your life could look like, what else your career could look like, it is not too late. And if you're really curious and you're on that brink of going, okay, I think I want to try something new, but I'm not sure, I'm scared, I want to also invite you to look into different spiritual systems. What I personally love about using human design, astrology, and numerology for myself and my clients, spoiler alert, even my executive clients, even my clients in the C-suite, even my clients who love the corporate world and never want to leave, we still use these spiritual systems to help them understand themselves better, to help them understand their gifts, to help them understand how do I maximize my potential? What is my purpose? What is my destiny? How am I meant to impact people? How am I meant to manifest? To me, manifestation is just creating success with ease, slaying your goal with ease, without destroying yourself, without burnout, without compromising your values, without settling. So anyway, I love to use these spiritual systems with ambitious women because it helps you finally see yourself clearly. You can't build a future that's aligned to you if you don't know who you are. And it's so easy for ambitious women, especially from immigrant backgrounds, to just take on the definition of who we think we are from the outside. And then we chase external validation as a result to prove to us that we're good girls, that we're good enough, that we're doing a good job, that we're okay. And then, but that external validation is never enough. I am someone who's very prone to chasing external validation, and it never actually satisfied me. When I was looking for people to be like, oh, you're awesome, or people liking my Instagram posts, or how much money I was making in my business, that never actually satisfied me. There's no amount of likes or money that will fill that gaping hole once again, okay? And the way that we fill that is through validating ourselves. And we can't validate ourselves if we don't truly see ourselves. And the best ways I've seen to see myself and to help my clients see themselves is, like I said, astrology, numerology, and human design. To give you a little taste of what those systems can give you if you're new to them or you're skeptical like I was in the beginning about these systems, I'm going to give you three little things, but big, profound things that these three systems showed me about me that really set me on my new path that I've been on. And that has allowed me to build my own definition of success. Not what looks great on Instagram, not what looks good to, my family in Poland or my professor from college. No, the version of success that is truly me, that makes me excited to wake up to my life. And when I hit the pillow, when I go to bed, I'm like, I did it. I did it. All right, so I'm going to start with numerology. The first thing I learned about numerology was that I'm a life path 11 and that is the goddess archetype. I could do a whole video on this, but simply put it, I'm meant to be a spiritual leader. I'm meant to usher in the divine feminine. I'm meant to bless the world with my gifts. This really opened my eyes when I learned about this back in 2020. I was still in my corporate job. And I was like, Anna, like, yes, corporate success is awesome, but you are actually meant to serve people in a different way. You have a much bigger purpose and mission when I read about this goddess archetype. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, inside astrology, everybody talks about their sun sign, maybe their rising or their moon. If you are keen to really get on your path to purpose, check out your North Node. The North Node represents how you're meant to grow and evolve. And when I work with clients, it's one of the first places we dive into if you want to find your greatest gifts and your zone of genius. Because leaning into your North Node sign archetype is what unlocks other gifts. For me, this is the sign of Pisces, okay? And I was so resistant to this for years. I was like, no offense if you're a Pisces, but I'm an Aries sun, Leo moon. I was like, absolutely not. I am not touching Pisces with a 10-foot pole. I was raised to believe that emotions are bad. I need to be logical and practical. And Pisces is the absolute opposite of that. Pisces is dreamy, spiritual, ethereal, very angelic, very connected to God. Um, yeah. And so I was like, I'm not going to do that. And let me tell you, me finally dipping my toe into the Pisces water is what allowed me to do what I do now, which is use these spiritual systems to help ambitious women create lives they're obsessed with and careers that are aligned to their zone of genius. If I hadn't done that, I would not be doing this. And then finally, the third thing I want to talk about is human design. Human design is like astrology on steroids. And so, one of the first things you learn in human design is your energetic type, which tells you a lot about how you're meant to function in the world. I happen to be a projector, which is 20% of the population. It's the newest energetic type, and it's the energetic type that goes against most of society. It goes against the 9 to 5 kind of a work schedule. It's the design that's meant to work smarter, not harder. It's meant to work a lot less. It's really about ushering once again the divine feminine. And so this whole time I was trying to be a different energetic type. I was trying to be a manifester in my acting career by initiating. I was trying to be a generator in my corporate career by working super hard, but I'm actually not meant to do those things. I'm meant to do what I'm doing here. I'm meant to be a guide. That's what projectors ultimately are here to do. I'm here to help others become successful. That's my signature. And I'm here to help with efficiency and helping people not waste their energy, which is why I'm doing this video. So you stop wasting your precious time and energy on paths that just you won't, that aren't for you, that were forced upon you, that even if you reach those goals, you're not going to feel satisfied. Okay. And so that's what I'm here to do as a projector. And that's what I learned in my human design. And it also took me a long time to accept it because I wanted to be the initiator workhorse, but everything in my cosmic blueprint, from astrology to numerology to human design, points me as very feminine. And I was not raised that way. I was raised to be a masculine machine. And that's also why I believe I developed PCOS, which is literally in the womb and me not accepting my femininity and pushing my female body way too hard, causing my body to create testosterone. Yay! So anyway, you can check out my PCOS series if you are also someone who struggles with any kind of hormonal disorders. And then finally, if you would like to learn about your cosmic blueprint and learn what your human design, astrology, and numerology has to say about your destiny, your gifts, your path, what your definition of success not only looks like, but what's the easiest way to get there, I give you those personalized strategies and insights inside my Goddess Codes session. You can go ahead and comment Goddess Codes below, and I'll be happy to send you the link so you can check that out. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.